Okay, listen, I did an uncapped subathon and made
a lot of money.
And I want to share it with you because I feel like a lot of people who have posted these already had millions or hundreds of thousands of followers or made $1 million or had high viewership. And I did none of those things. I did not make $1 million, and I do not have hundreds of thousands of followers, and I do not average over 1,000 viewers. But I think it's still really important because it's very realistic to show you what a smaller streamer who has less than 55,000 followers on Twitch and typically averages between 100 and 150 average viewers made, because it was awesome and it was so much fun. And before I show you anything from the subathon, please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you guys. This is day 16 out of 100 days of posting a full-length YouTube video in a row, on top of streaming every single day on Twitch. I appreciate you guys so much. So how much money did I make?
Go for it, Gigi.
Almost heaven. West Virginia. Blue Ridge Mountains. Shenandoah River.
Between April 27th and May 22nd, 2022, I made $17,000. And once again, for those of you who've seen a lot of other big streamers do this, maybe that's not a lot of money, but I was averaging 134 average viewers, minutes watched, subscriptions. I got 7,650 subscribers during this time, but it was a lot of fun, and it was a lot.
You end up like your parents too.
It was a lot. It was a lot of work, and it is a lot of commitment to be on camera that long, especially if there's no guarantee. Because, like, again, if you go here and you do a breakdown of how much I made a day, you never know how much you're going to make a day. Because when I go back here and show you guys that there were days when you go on here, first day made $800, amazing, incredible. But then the next day I made $2,100, and that's due to Twitch whales. That's due to amazing human beings that want to see you keep going. But in turn, because of that, the next day kind of back down to 800, the next day 1,500, and then the next day was $300, which again is fantastic, and it is so. Which again is fantastic and amazing. I'm just showing you that it can start anyway. You can have whatever days, it can go however idea, because again, like, look, my biggest, I then had a 2,000 day, and then the next day I had 400, and then the next day I had 171, and then the next day I made $37. And then the next day I made $37. Like, that's just kind of how these things are going to go. But guys, there was so much I learned during this subathon. That was incredible. I learned that people really stick it out if you say it's a subathon. Since then, I have done so many weeks and months and days streaming where I'm just like, okay, I'm just live for 12 hours every day, and people are like, cool. And the second I'm like, hey, it's a subathon, people are like, oh my God, it's a subathon. You know what I mean? And so there is a big thing that comes along with saying that it's a subathon, because there's a big thing that comes along with the sub goals that you're going to do. Not on my face, please.
Like
Not on my face!
Maybe like here.
There's a big thing that comes along with the games that you're gonna play. With the alerts you're going to put on, with leaving the stream up for your community afterwards. And at root, it is very important for people to have something when it comes to subathons where they can be like, how far can my streamer make it? I started giving a tangent. So what I'm going to tell you really quickly is here were the pros and here were the cons. The pros, obviously, I made $17,000 in 22 days, which is huge for what I would normally make on Twitch. The other pros, I got so many new followers. I hit so many new sub goals. I stepped outside of my comfort zone in content. Yes! I played so many new games. I met so many new people. I did a lot more IRL than I ever would have typically, which was so much fun and which was so amazing. But then there's obviously the cons. this is fun to do years later because we are married, we have a baby, we have a beautiful family, but honestly, our relationship almost did not survive. Our relationship almost did not survive me literally being at the computer at 8 a.m. and being back at home in bed at like 11:30 or midnight at night, just so I could crawl in bed, say, hey, I loved you, I missed you, and then fall asleep. And it's kind of okay for a week or 2 or 3, and then it gets kind of daunting. So we worked out. So many amazing things came from it. But yeah, it's daunting on your relationships. It's daunting. It's not something that I could do now with a family, I don't think, until my son is much older and in school or like away or things like that. It's not something you could really do. It's not something I think I could do again right now. No, it's not something that I could do again right now. So that is definitely a con. A bigger con that people don't really talk about is what happens to your channel afterwards. A big problem that I've always had with my community is that I have a really large EU and UK audience, and then I have a really large late night audience. When I started streaming, I was living on the West Coast and I had a job. And so I would go live at like 8 o'clock my time, which was 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I had a lot of OCE people coming in. I'd go live 6, 7, 8 o'clock my time for my streams. And so I built a large part of my audience that is super late nighters for where I am now, central, you know what I mean? And then I completely switched when I was doing like the 2-year challenge and I was doing the subathons and things like that, and got so many people who were in my streams at 8 o'clock in the morning. Large EU audience, large UK audience. Actually, my largest audience, even though I live in Chicago, is from the UK. And so I had a very large audience there. And finding a way afterwards to be like, when am I going to stream? Do I want to appeal to my UK audience, to my EU audience, to my late night audience? And I don't think that that's a problem for larger streamers in general. This is not an insult to them. They have fostered an amazing community, but they're not necessarily like, well, when are my viewers going to be there? Because they know they have so many across all of it. I have a very tight-knit community, which is very incredible. And I wish that I could still be live around the clock 24/7 for them. So no matter what, after that subathon, you're going to see a dip. You're going to see a dip in viewership. You're going to see a dip in the regular people that you got used to seeing every day during your subathon. You're going to see a dip in engagement. You're going to see, and then the actuality is you're going to get to watch your sub count fall. Unless you rode that high afterwards and just stayed the largest streamer in the world, you're going to see your sub count fall from when you were constantly getting subs every minute, every hour, every day. And no matter what you tell yourself, it is going to affect you mentally. It is going to affect your mental. You're going to look at it and you're going to see, oh, it's going down. Because like Ludwig said, bigger number, better streamer. So falling number, falling streamer. And then finding consistency. The big con that I also had was burnout. And that's something that I also experienced after my 2-year challenge, because that's for another video that will be coming out later this week. But I also streamed every single day for 731 days in a row, not taking any days off through surgery, day before, day of, and day after I had surgery, through a power outage where we had no power for 3 or 4 days, you know what I mean? And I would go out in the freezing cold and plug my phone into the car for just a little bit and go live for half an hour and then end, and then dealing with people. You know what? Again, that's another video for another day, but it's just something bigger, and it's something there too, is that you deal with burnout. You deal with not knowing which community was there for the spectacle or which community is really there for you, what times to stream and all of that. And then you're going to have to find a balance in that. I recommend doing one once in your career if you have the capability, if it's not going to take away from other work, or you have the time off, or if you're trying to do this full time. I fully recommend it. I did say something to somebody in my stream once. This is something I recommend if you have been streaming for a while, you already have an audience. It doesn't have to be a large one, but you already have an audience who you know will come, and you are pushing the limits of yourself and your community within those parameters. I know a lot of people who streamed to 0 viewers or wanted to kick off streaming without a following from anywhere with a subathon, and that I genuinely think would be one of the most defeating and awful things you could do to yourself and your mental. I genuinely think it is one of the most awful things that you could do to your mental, because people, I did it so many years in, and so many people did it so many years in, or when they were ready to go full time, because they already had that base. This is not something I would put yourself through at the beginning of your career. At the beginning of your career, at the beginning of what you're trying to do, because people don't know you. You're going to be live 24 hours around the clock with a chance that no one's going to come in there, and that is going to get lonely, that is going to get awful, and that is going to turn into something absolutely miserable and probably will ruin content creation for you in general. So again, I only recommend this if you are like, you've been doing this for a while, you are trying to go full time. But if you have a community, I do recommend it 1,000,000 times over. I think it's a great way to step outside your comfort zone. You're going to do content you didn't know that you could do. You are going to find games. You are going to find new people in your community. You are going to stretch the limits of your creativity and have so much fun. And then obviously what all of you are thinking, you're going to make money. You're going to make more than you will. I'm not saying that you're going to make $17,000. You might make $500, and that might be very large for your channel for that month. Or you could make $17,000, which is a lot of money for your channel at that time of the month. Or you could make $100,000, which is a lot for your channel at the time. Or you could make $1.8 million and submit yourself in streaming history and be one of the greatest people who have ever existed on Twitch and kind of paved the way for people to do this. My subathon was one of the best things that I ever did for my channel and for myself, and it is also one of the worst things that I ever did to my mental for a while, especially a couple months coming off of a 2-year challenge trying to figure out who I was as a content creator. I did not know for the longest time if people were there for the spectacle of me being live every single day, or for my 12 or 24-hour streams, or for my non-stop 26-day stream. And it is something that wrecked my mental as a content creator for a while. And it is also something that created some of the most fun content I've ever created. Some of my longest standing community members that still come back every single stream and comment on every single YouTube video, and pushed my limits as a content creator and made me realize that I didn't just have to only stream Rocket League. I still have a problem streaming majority Rocket League, but my subathon is what made it possible for me to think that I could go and do so much more with my channel. I loved it. It was incredible. And, you know, I got a really good paycheck that helped me for a long time. And I got a lot of really good content now that I am still milking 3 years later. 3 years later, I am still milking this subathon content. So that's what you can do. You get to turn it into content. And one other caveat that I will say, once again, tooting my own horn again, I am somebody who streamed every day for 731 days in a row because it was peak COVID, and I had started the 2-year challenge, started the 1-year challenge before COVID had hit, and then I got lucky. COVID was an awful thing for the whole world, and it was something devastating, but I got to grow with the COVID boom. I got to grow as one of those content creators, and it blew up, and people were there every day for my 2-year challenge. And it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. And it was one of the most fantastic experiences of my life. And then I went and I turned around and I waited a couple months and I did an uncapped subathon. You know what I mean? And I was like, how far and what can I do? But I didn't post on other platforms at the time, which I should have. I can't imagine the growth I would have seen on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram if I had been posting during that subathon. And so for those of you who would do this now in 2025 or 2026, it's going to give you endless content for all the content platforms that are so good for growth, that help you grow on Twitch. Because like I've said a million times, I do not envy anyone trying to go full-time in content now. I got to do it around the clock because I didn't need to post on other platforms to grow. So I don't envy that whatsoever. But guys, I do recommend doing uncapped subathons if they're genuine. I do not recommend doing them all the time. I found myself falling into that hole a little bit too. I turned around a couple months later and was like, you know what? What if I just do a subathon again? No. Do not be somebody who does that to your community unless you know your community and that is something that would work for them. But guys, there are so many pros and cons. I recommend it. I would love your opinion down below on what you think about uncapped subathons and on what you think about the content that comes out of it. And if you'd ever want to see one again. And no. Yeah, guys, that is how much money I made. That is how much money I made doing an uncapped subathon, and I hope you enjoyed. Today was day 16 of 100 of posting a full-length YouTube video every single day for 100 days. Please subscribe to the channel. Please follow me on Twitch, and I will see you tomorrow.